On the printout that you might have seen on the card, you will see that tonight's program is entitled The Rizzotte Family, 4 Generations. Well, you're going to find out tonight that there's 5 generations, which means that probably what most of you already knew, I can't count over 4. And I've had the privilege to know 4 of the generation that, I know I look like such a baby that I can't be, but I have, and it's been a pleasure because throughout the entire my lifetime of knowing the Rizzotte family, they have always stood for excellence, and they've always been leaders in the community. As I wrote the press release, I found words here that I thought described the 4 generations. The Rizzotte family is one of enterprise, success, great sadness, challenges, resilience, renewed success, plus all that toil the soil need, and that is hope and courage. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce, for tonight's program, Hank Rizzotte.
Good evening, everyone. First thing I'd like to do is thank the Historical Society and Bill for having us tonight. And I'd also like to say it's an honor to honor those who came before me. If anybody knows me, and my wife could verify this, I farm not for myself, but for my family. And I want Glossy to keep going. That's my only goal. If I sit down with a financial planner or whoever, there's one goal: that farm's got to keep going, no matter what, because it's been through so many ups and downs and rounds, and we're still here and we're going to keep going. Ready?
Ready. Oops.
As you could read, the forefather of the family was Gaetano from Messina, Italy. After serving as a corporal in the Italian cavalry, he emigrated to America in 1886. He purchased 35 acres in Hammonton with an existing house and established a home for the family he left in Italy. In 1887, he sent for his wife Joanna and 5 children. The farm grew basically, except for pears, that what we're still growing. Potatoes, which back then were white potatoes, now we're growing sweets. Blueberries, raspberries, peaches, pears, and apples. The farm was one of the first commercial orchards in South Jersey. As for livestock, production on the farm, they only raised what they needed to feed their family. This is a photograph of the 2nd generation, Tony Anthony Rizzotte, harvesting white potatoes. And the people on the cleat track are unknown to us. We've tried to find who they are, and we don't know. But that's my grandfather, Tony. Joe, do you remember that kind of tractor? The Cleveland? No?
And about what year would that have been?
That year's got to be early 1900s, I would say.
Fleet tractor.
Cleveland tractor, right, Joe? Cleveland? Cleveland. Getting back to this, Gaetano's knowledge of the fruit culture and his eagerness to experiment and adopt new practices that we're still doing as quickly as they were available is credited as contributing largely to the establishment of Hammonton itself as a center for superior quality peaches. Gaetano's son John, 12 years old when he came to America, worked on the farm. In 1900, he worked as a foreman in charge of the Atlantic County road work, which we tried to figure today that's probably a county job back then. He later became supervisor of the cranberry bogs and farms of the Atlantic Cranberry Company. Now, Peter, would you know who that might be? Where is Peter? Atlantic Cranberry Company.
I'm guessing that's the same as Atlantic Blueberry. Yeah.
We thought today, no.
Oh, really?
I think that was Makepeace.
Was it Makepeace?
I think so.
I don't know.
Well,
Uncle Tony.
We were going to the blueberry expert,
Yeah.
but we tried to figure it today and really couldn't come
at
up
that
with it.
time, Ryder would have been involved in cranberries.
They had cranberry vines.
Yeah,
After
well, I
14
think,
years in this
Ryder
position,
would've
he
been
took up real
involved in
estate.
That's right.
He was particularly successful in buying farmland, improving it, and then selling the improved acreage. In this manner, he has also developed large parcels of land, which he later sold as 10 to 25-acre farms after he built homes and farm buildings on them. He accumulated more than 500 acres of orchards and vegetable farmland, which he kept and operated with his brother Tony from around 1920 to 1930.
Who's your grandpa?
That's Grandpa Anthony. John made quite a name for himself and soon left the partnership with his brother. Anthony then soon formed a partnership with his son David, which was our dad, which lasted from the 30s until 1969. During this partnership, many changes took place at the farm. That is a picture of my grandfather Anthony, and I stumped Bill today on what project he's doing there, being that he's been ag all his life.
Ask the crowd.
Would anyone know? Where's Janine? Would Janine know?
I'm trying to figure it out.
That is,
I don't think
is
they-
Judy here? Is Judy
I
know?
don't think they sprayed them.
No.
No, that is him. We just, they had just planted a newly planting of strawberries. And with strawberries, the roots are so shallow that if you bury them too deep, you choke the crown and they won't grow. So what they did, if you look behind the tractor, there was a roller that actually pushed the plant into the ground. And it kept the crown above the soil level.
And he also had a suit on.
Yeah, and that's another thing we noticed. Back in those days, we have pictures of those guys farming and hunting, and they had suit and ties on while they were doing it. Now we can't, we scream when we gotta put one on to go to a
Well, that
wedding.
was a normal dress at the
One more
time.
question, what kind of tractor is it?
That's a Farmall.
Farmall.
Farmall Super C, I'm guessing. Would you say, Joe?
Yeah.
Or a 200, I don't know. See?
And Hank, we'll be in the background. You want to go back for a second?
Yes, sir. Let's see.
That's right, never mind.
That's all right, I got it.
In the background, that's actually the packing house. And if you look to the right of the white, bigger building, that's the homestead which my wife and myself still live in today. That would be towards 206. There's Grandpop and my father Dave with a bumper crop of sweet potatoes, the way it looks to me. But anybody that knew my grandpop would probably know what he's saying right there. He'd probably be saying, yeah, the crop's good, but it could be a lot better. But we're trying to figure, my dad passed in '69, so that had to be almost to that year. So we're guessing 67, 68 there.
It was about 52.
Yeah, my dad died at 52, so probably there he was 50 years old, and Grandpop was probably,
God knows.
but that's probably what he was saying there. You know, Dave, you did all right, but it could be better. In 1949, the main shop was built. Today, still, is where all the repair work is done. In the late 40s to early 60s, the packing house was built and coolers were installed. A lot of people go to the Red Barn Farm Market, which is across the street from us. That building actually was the original packing house for our farm. In about 1950, that building was moved across the street. They jacked it up, put it on rollers, and rolled it right over where it sits right now.
Why did they move it?
They were going to put up the new warehouse. So they moved that one. They were going to tear it down. But we found today that my Aunt Jessie pleaded with her father not to tear it down. It was a historic building. And she won her case, and it's still standing today. Evelyn, and you've been there, Evelyn sells pies, and everybody loves that place. And it's a landmark. Everybody knows where the Red Barn is. During that time, David married Frances Hermes, and together they had 3 boys, David, Anthony, and Frank Hank, that's me. During the late 50s and 60s, there was also a change in the commodities produced. Little did we know, blueberry production back then was cut back. Vegetable acreage increased, and tomatoes and sweet potatoes became the mainstays. This is a picture from Atlantic Electric. This was when they first installed the cooling systems at the farm, and they were promoting the use of electric. And it says the year.
Now we promote gas.
And that's the original. If you could see in that picture, there is the red barn itself right
That's
there,
it.
Yeah.
on top of the block building.
Mhm.
Our father died suddenly in '69. My mother hired a farm manager to help run the business during this difficult time. Stutz Campanella and Ernie Chapin, which my brother Dave has mentioned, and Tony's mentioned, and myself, without those two guys, the farm probably would have fell apart. So a bunch of credit goes to their family, the Campanella family and the Chapin family, who worked there 7 days a week like it was their own. And they did a great job. Ernie kept a diary daily of all the goings on of the farm, as far as wind speed, weather, what was planted that day, or whatever work they did. Pip, Medio, and I mean, Ernie and Stutz did a great job. You could never say enough about those guys, and you were there with us a number of days, and you know how great they were. After that happened, my mother hired the manager, Medio DeMarco, which Medio is another person that personally I can't say enough about, because he came in and kept something going. My mother was in bed, my father wasn't there, so you got to give him credit for what he did.
Tell them why your mother wasn't.
Well, this everyone,
Not everyone.
not everyone knows. You lost everything.
I
You
did.
broke it.
What
In
happened?
1963, my mom and dad went to a wedding.
What happened?
Well, you might need some technical support.
Did you shut off? I
It
didn't
says
touch-
searching.
Searching.
Is it bad? Is it plugged in? Bad? Oh, it looks like you're cord.
Are you unplugged?
That'll do it. I don't know, I don't do it.
Was that plugged in originally?
Don't have to reboot.
Who's the techie here?
You should change your battery.
You plugged
Is
in.
it plugged
didn't
in?
you, Bill?
Yeah. What's that saying then?
Other people are logged onto this computer.
No.
I did.
Okay, here we go. Turn off computer. Oh, here we
Oh,
go.
yeah. Ah,
Back one.
yes, sir.
Getting back to why Mom was in bed in 1963, they went to a wedding at White Marsh Country Club in Pennsylvania. And during the cocktail hour, they were out on a bridge over at a golf course over a creek. They were leaning on a railing, and the railing broke, and they both fell. My mom was paralyzed from her waist down at 36 years old. So that's why she stayed in bed. And so Medio, God bless him, he's no longer here. He did a great job. I got to give him credit. My mom, I can't say enough about her, because she was in bed with a number of problems, and she could easily said, you know, what the hell with this farm, but she didn't. She had 3 of us. So that's her sons. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
There's a picture of us. I was a little bit younger then. That was in the 80s. That was the Chamber of Commerce award that we received from the town of Hammonton. The center picture is David. To the left is my brother Tony, and to the right is myself, and that's my mom. Each one of us has had certain responsibilities. Dave was the oldest, and Mom put a lot of faith in him with the sales and the packaging. Tony was in charge of field preparation and planning, which we both interchanged there, and I did irrigation and harvesting. Together, we decided which crops to plant, the acreage of which variety, and the layout of the crops. Every day for lunch we spent with my mom from 12 to 1 in her room. So everything that went on at that farm was discussed for an hour every day. There's a picture of my brother who passed away in January, probably at 20, 22, I guess. Each brother married. Dave and his wife, we all lived close by the farm there. Dave and his wife Michelle have 2 sons and now have 1 grandchild. Tony and his wife have 5 daughters and 4 grandchildren already. Myself and my wife Mary Ann have 2 children. One is here in the back tonight, Cindy, with her boyfriend Franco, and Hank, my son, who's laying on the beach. Well, not now, it's dark. And we live in the original farmhouse, which we guesstimated 170 years old at the farm, which we once shared with our mom, Franny. All 3 of us, along with our mother, also made additional changes. We put up a couple buildings. We did some greenhouses. Crops varied throughout the years, but we went more vegetables, cucumbers and squash. Tomatoes were always a mainstay on our farm. Sweet potatoes also was just one crop that you never even considered dropping. In '86, we got back into blueberries, and we rode this wave that everybody's been riding, and it's been a good ride. And that's probably our main crop now. We have close to 300 acres of blueberries, along with 120 acres of sweet potatoes, and we farm roughly 50 acres of steak tomatoes throughout the year. And in 1989, the retail market was invented, and that's been a good thing. It's time consuming. My wife Mary Ann does a lot of the work there, and my sister-in-law Mary helps out. But I classify a road market as a jail cell. You're always in it. Go ahead. That's the latest building we put up. That's where we pack blueberries. That building is 80 by 120. It's fully air conditioned. We convert it after blueberry season into sweet potato storage. Roughly 3,000 bins of sweet potatoes go into that building in the month of October. All the blueberry equipment's moved out, potatoes go in, and then hopefully by the time blueberries roll around again, the potatoes are out there and the blueberry equipment comes back in. That's a picture of the way we harvest tomatoes. We back into the building. These are the workers there packing tomatoes a couple years back. There's a few more pictures. That's the secretary that I had there on the right, Charles Caparis, years ago, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
He came to the farm, and they were doing a drive of some type.
For hurricane relief.
For hurricane relief. That's a picture from the back of the road market. That's right on Route 206. There's 20 acres of blueberries that sit right behind the blueberry market itself there. That's a picture of blueberry clusters.
And
we're in the Jersey Fruit Co-op for blueberries. That's the farm market in the spring, probably the prettiest time of the year. All the bedding plants are out, and we have perennials out, and we also carry a line of produce in there. And like I said, without Mary Ann, that place would not do too good. The farm's always been an advocate of agriculture in New Jersey. David probably being at the forefront of everything that he could have been in. He passed away January 4th, which in exactly 4 hours, I can't believe it'll be 1 year. He represented us at the agriculture industry. He was on the Atlantic County Board of Ag, Atlantic County Agricultural Development Board, Peach Promotion Council, and more recently had involvement with the Blueberry Council. We are also proud to say that our brother served on the State Board of Ag
Annie and
Saka. Many people that along the line, along the way, helped the farm in ways that when they did it, they didn't understand, but they did a lot. One thing that farmers complain about are brokers, but without brokers, we're nothing. And you could go down the list. The Donios, the Santillis, the Vacaros, Jigs Maimon, numbers of brokers that bought from our farm. And there's some ledgers that I brought here from years ago. They were a Dilly family, and there's a number of brokers which we got to thank along the way. Without brokers, you know, we need brokers to move the produce. And our families, all of us, and that one there especially. And my daughter, who is, she's thinking about quitting teaching school just to run that farm market full time. She wants like $10 an hour, and I can't see that. I really can't do that. Tony and myself have made the necessary adjustments to now share the duties that were once shared by 3 brothers. My son Hank has contributed and played a big part, in the many changes that have taken place, and including the integration of technology into the farming. I mean, it's no longer pick, pack, and ship. It's amazing what we go through nowadays to do it. Everything's computerized, everything is barcoded, everything is scanned, it's totally different than years ago. You had a pad, and you stamped the box, and it went to New York. Now it's completely different, and my son has helped me there, because I'll be the first to admit I'm not the greatest on the computer, and he's helped. And there's a number of things, like now we pay for third-party audits at our farm to make sure the produce is safe, that we're clean, our farmer's clean, an outfit comes in and they check us from head to toe just to make sure everything's, and that's stuff that my son has helped us with. And we look forward as a farm, and like I said when I first started, my main goal is to keep Glossy Fruit Farms moving, and to keep Gaetano's dream and the 35 acres, keep it going, and that's basically it.
When did your grandfather die?
My grandpop died after my father. My father was 1969, he died in 1970. Yeah.
Hank, I just wanted to add to something that that the Rizzotte family years ago got the Century Farm Award by the New Jersey State Board of Agriculture, which is, you know, quite an honor. Happened to be there that night, and Dave was on the platform ready to receive the award. Hank was pruning. And,
Well, here's my exact story then. I remember it to this day. I was trimming peaches on 206, and Dave and Tony were going to receive an award, and they wanted me to go. Naturally, and during the day, I thought, I said, when I come out of the hole, I'll go get an award. Right now, I'm still in debt. I'm not going to get awards.
So anyway, if you can picture that Dave is at the center stage to receive this award for the family, and Brother Tony walks across the stage. Then you talk.
Go ahead, you go.
So anyway, I choke up easily. But anyway, he told the story about that his brother, who had been, like, I think between he and Mario Arena were 1 and 2 the class in St. Joseph's, and then at Villanova, Dave was way up there scholastically and probably not headed for a job on the farm. And his mother asked him to come home, and he gave it all up. So Tony walked up to him and he said, "I want to shake your hand and thank you."
Now, we've always been together, and then, like I said, there was a fellow there the other day said, you can't see him, but he's here, and I've been saying that about my father since then, so. It's just everybody's got troubles.
So when you got into the blueberry business, did you envision that you would, when you started, that you'd be at 300 acres, and was it an incremental planning, or how did that all come about?
We locked horns about blueberries, and I was full force in blueberries. I wanted to go blueberries just because, number one, you pay a man for what he picks. Vegetables, you pay a man by the hour. Most farms, some farms do piecework.
When you're not the
When you
teacher.
gotta start, and we're fighting minimum wage again, and who knows where that's gonna be. But at least you pay a man for what he picks, and you gotta weigh out. I mean, when you get a guy out there and he's just lollygagging, and you just keep paying, and you don't get anything back. But David, I remember we were potting blueberries. You're making a big mistake, you know, anybody knows Dave, he talked real slower than me. You're making a big mistake. I looked up, I'm full of dirt. I said, what do you mean? Blueberries are done. And that was 1985. Thank God he was wrong, because they've made some money since then. And yeah, every partnership is going to not agree on everything. But going back to when my mom was alive, she was the mediator. And she would, and it came down to, it was lucky because it was 3. Now we got trouble, it's only 2. So when it was 3, it was 2 against 1, you lose. Now, I don't know what we're gonna do, man. No. I really don't. Huh? I'll lose because he's much bigger than me. And then I'm gonna lose every battle.
You get out talking. You're already.
Okay, yeah. No, but it's been a long road, and I appreciate you guys having me. Like I said, I love the honor, because we're just a stepping stone on this place. The guys, and I give even the other farms, I mentioned to you the other day, the DeMarco family out in Chatsworth. What made them go to the woods and cut trees down and plant cranberry? What drives a person to do that in the middle of nowhere? And the Bertino family here just keep clearing and planting. It takes a drive, and you got to give the old timers credit. Sometimes the new guys come in and take, oh, look what I did. We didn't do much. We're just carrying it on. The visions that some of these guys had, including our grandfather and great-grandfather, you got to have a plan in life. And they did, and they kept pushing, and times got hard, and you just keep going. So you give those kind of guys credit. Anything else?
Any questions? Hank?
What part of Italy did your grandfather come from?
Messina.
Was it Jessup? Or you don't know the town?
I
We don't know the
know.
town.
Another town.
Messina is like the town.
Was it?
Yeah.
Town, it's a province.
Yeah, province, and then there's towns called.
Jessos, Barbara.
Well, getting back to that, the Italian way, years ago too, the thing about farming, and it's just not the Italian way, it's the farm way. The families did the farming. When they came here, the families worked together. Aunt Jessie and Aunt Jenny, my father's two sisters, I have pictures. They used to store their hats on a little rack, and they had aprons and stuff, smocks. And years ago, I mean, that's how the immigrants did. They came here and they all worked together. Her family was in farming too. I mean, so it's just the American way. I guess the family sticks together, and it worked. Thank God. Thank God.
Usually is the only way to gather enough food to feed everybody.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times you go out towards Salem and out to Woodstown. I marvel at the size of the homes.
Yes.
With the number of windows. That's because they had so many kids.
Yeah.
Where's the kids?
It took 12 kids to raise 6 to old enough to work on the farm.
Work on the farm.
Yeah.
The more kids, the more hands.
Yeah.
Back then it didn't cost what it does now, because my daughter's got about 80 years to pay me back for her college tuition.
Yeah, then you were lucky to have a pair of pants and a shirt for a year.
You're right. You're right. But you know what? They kept going, right?
Yeah.
They didn't stop. They kept plugging. Peter?
So when Gaetano came to the U.S., did he buy the farm, or did he?
He bought the farm. That one is the existing farm.
So
in 35.
do you know who he bought it from? Or?
My cousin Evelyn mentioned the name to me today, and I forgot it, to be honest with you. It was existing with the house on it.
Okay.
Our home in the cellar is the Jersey stone
Yeah.
with no mortar. In the cellar, it's just stacked on top of one another. And what they did then after is they parched it, so they sort of put a coating over it, but the stone itself is still stacked on top of one another with no mortar or of no kind. And that's been added on to God knows how many times.
Is it
Still.
Is it haunted? Any relatives hanging out?
I asked my wife that. She's, since my brother passed, who knows?
No, since your
No.
mother, really. She used to turn the water on me.
Yeah, the water would go on mysteriously. Yeah, but that's.
After she passed, but he says it was just a loose faucet. I disagree.
No, but,
Hank's grandfather, Tony, we hear the story about in the packing house with the cane. But the other side, the side that I knew of, he was very avuncular, and he was everybody Uncle Tony, and he was smooth, and I still remember his voice. And he was, when I was in the store, mostly as a kid, we looked forward to Uncle Tony coming in. So.
well, there were stories about him that he would never tell you the truth either. He was a little bit of a, her dad would meet over Medio DeMarco's when they had the farm place there, and he's often mentioned to me, hey, how much fertilizer did you put on there? The same old Joe Battaglia answer. Same I put last year. Same amount I put last year, so there was it's like a good recipe. You don't want to give it away. And that was a bunch of stories that Grandpop, I remember. I mean, his one driving secret was just back up till you feel something. Go back up slow now. You won't do a lot of damage. He was hit by a train over in town. I mean, so that was his one. And he always drove on this side of the white line. He was never on the right side. He was always on the wrong side of the white line, going his 20 mile an hour down the side of the road. And then he'd have his cane, and everybody that remembers that cane, and he would just bounce it every now and then sitting on his chair.
And I remember when he got really well up in age, but he still didn't want to stay in the house. He'd take the pickup truck out into the middle of the field and park in the sun and just take a nap.
One trait that I learned from Evelyn, my cousin Evelyn, was the love letters he wrote to his wife. Yeah.
Yes, she has.
And Evelyn has them, and boy, I'll tell you what, for the rough man that everybody thought he was, he had a tender heart when it came to those love letters. Because we've read a bunch of them. Yeah. Yeah, he would write often to her. And that was a nice thing to
So
read.
where was she? Where was she when he was writing to
I think it was just
Yeah,
during the course
he
of
was
the
right
year.
there. Mhm.
Right there. She was with him.
her? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Because Grandpop actually lived when Aunt Jessie built. He lived across where Evelyn lives now. That was his original house. And then when he got up in age, Aunt Jessie built a separate room for him on where Aunt Jessie lived there, right across from the Red Barn.
And your father was involved in other things too, like when he was the marshal?
Yeah, Dad was a
Maybe
U.S. Marshal. Yeah. There's the picture of Nucky Johnson.
handcuffed
He
to
was
his
handcuffed
dad.
to him, yeah, while he was a marshal. Yep, and he was always, the other story I hear about my dad, that he was always deathly afraid of his father. And would never, he smoked, and I don't think Grandpop ever saw him with a cigarette until he was 52 when he died, and never let Grandpop see that.
How about your mother? How often did your mother see you smoke?
Never.
It carried on.
No, but thank God we're all still, we're not all still here. We're here mentally, all of us, and and the farm's got to keep going. Got great friends, great neighbors, the Presties, the fish shows. Mr. Neal even came out tonight. Joe, everybody, thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Always have time.